Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Concordia University Chicago, From Classroom to Career, How the Master's in Applied Exercise Science Prepares You for Success. We're really excited to have everyone here. We're also very excited to have a student panel discussion prepared for you guys. We do have Renee Balconi and Dallas Grotto who have joined us and who are going into a panel discussion for everyone. We'll be talking a little bit more about program details so you can get a feel for how the program works, what the application requirements are, what the next steps are for you if you're ready to join the program. And then we're going to leave it open for some questions. So if you have any questions, make sure you add your questions in the Q&A chat, and we'll be sure to follow up with those at the end of this. So welcome, everyone. As I mentioned, we have our panelists that are with us today. Renee Balconi is with us. She is High Performance Director for Houston Dash. We also have Dallas Grotto. He is the Associate Athletic Trainer for the head men's basketball team for the University of Texas at Arlington. Welcome, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. We're really glad to have you guys. We really count it an honor to have you here with us today. Renee, do you want to take a minute to just introduce yourself, and then we'll pass it off to Dallas?
Sure. I'm Renee Balconi. I'm currently the High Performance Director here at the Houston Dash, which is the women's professional soccer team in Houston. Prior to this, I was LSU performance coach, where I worked with multiple sports, but I was originally hired for soccer, but I have a background of working with multiple sports. So I worked with tennis and then assisted with others, and then also was the head of soccer. Prior to that, I owned my own company. My wife and I started in the back of a garage, and after hard work and about a year and a half, it grew to about a 9,000 square foot facility, and we did that for 9 years, and we sold that. We have a beautiful son. He's 6, and my wife and son currently live in Ohio. We just moved to Ohio from Colorado, where my wife was a head assistant coach for the Air Force Academy, a women's college soccer team. And now she has scored really high in the LSAT, and she's going to pursue a career in law. So she can be home more with our son as well. So that is my story. I'm a daughter, a sister, a mother, and a professional.
Amazing. Thank you, Renee. Dallas, you want to take it away?
Yeah, it'll be hard to top Renee's impressive introduction. My name is Dallas Grotto. I currently work at the University of Texas at Arlington, where I'm the head athletic trainer for our men's basketball team. Prior to this position, I worked for a year at the University of Virginia. I worked with football, tennis, and squash as a year-long fellowship while I was completing this master's degree. Before that, I was in undergrad school at the University of Texas at Austin, where I got my bachelor's in athletic training and worked with a variety of sports on UT campus. Personally, I'm young. I don't have a family or any fun news like Renee had to share, but I've always been into sports medicine, and going through this program, I've dabbled more into what the health and fitness side looks like and how those two fields kind of interact, because there is a strong collaboration there. And yeah, so I work as an athletic trainer and was able to do this program while doing that. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, we appreciate you both joining us, and know you're very busy in your careers, but it really is wonderful to have you here with us tonight. Just to kind of introduce myself, since I haven't done that yet, my name is Camille Blake. I work with Concordia University of Chicago. I've been a student success advisor for about 7 years here, and so have worked through many life cycles with our students, and really enjoy what I do. I am also don't have any children, but I am an avid pet lover, and I do rescues with kittens. and cats. And my newest family member is a little 7-week-old kitten that showed up after some storms in the garage. I don't know how the cat distribution center works, but it does. And so now I have him. And you may hear a little bit of that in the background. Hopefully not, though. He's being good so far. So with that being said, let's move on to the student panel discussion. And we have some good questions prepared for you guys to kind of be able to share and elaborate some of the things that we've prepared. So the first question, I think, on top of everybody's mind is, why did you choose Concordia University of Chicago? What drove you to our programs?
Alice, do you want to go first, or?
Sure, you went first last time, so I'll take it away this time.
I like that.
Yeah, so coming out of undergrad, and this was just last May, I realized that with my profession athletic training, the field has gone to a master's degree program now. I was one of the last cohorts to kind of do that profession in a bachelor's program. So I knew I needed to get some kind of graduate degree, some kind of further education, and really wanted it to be relevant to what I was going to spend my career doing. So I did a lot of searching around online. I knew that I wanted to do an online program that would be flexible with my career and whatever other responsibilities I had at the time. And Concordia University kind of stood out to me. I'd heard about it from a colleague who works at a nearby university here in DFW, who was able to complete it and did the same track that I just completed, and actually found it really beneficial. So a lot of the places I was looking at, going through curriculum, I just didn't really think that it would translate over as well. But, the way that it's laid out with this program here, it definitely was, I was able to implement what I was learning in class into my actual practice. So I knew this would work for me and my career with the online asynchronous format and the way that we have our due dates and different assignments scheduled. It really helped me create, my starting out my professional career and how I like to schedule my days and how I take care of different responsibilities. So Concordia really just checked all those boxes for me.
Do you mind sharing which concentration, what your program was?
Yeah. My concentration in the applied exercise science program is the human movement science track.
Nice.
So very similar to Dallas, I think, with my schedule, being and then also, being a mother and stuff like, my first priority is being a mother. My second one is bringing in income for my family. And as you guys know, and the students know, sometimes you tend to fall, second, third, fourth, fifth on the list. When I went to school back in college, my concentration unfortunately wasn't school. It wasn't necessarily partying either. Yeah, I wanted to play professional soccer, so that's what I did, and I went on and I pursued that and I played that. So, education and I guess my passion beyond playing professional soccer really didn't hit until later on into playing, when I realized my passion was to assist others. And along the line of assisting others in my field, I wanted to always get better and better. I think that same drive that I had with soccer was now coming over into my professional life. And it was, I wanted to get all the certifications. I wanted to get more education and take it more seriously now that I knew what I wanted to do. And the next steps was the master's. I didn't always want to own my business. I wanted to one day be, part of a program like a college. And then I wanted one day to be a director. And then, now it's funny. Now I just want to be a mom, but it comes, whatever it is. And there's certain things that you just have to do along the way, or don't necessarily have to, but it would better you and prepare you better for the future. So getting my master's, exercise size and concentration and performance and human, was in strength and conditioning, was kind of, what called to me. And I love the Concordia I actually did work for. Years ago, I came here on my half of my company and I trained the women's college soccer team for a day, and that was fun. So I sent an athlete there who loved it, Sam, and I knew Concordia and I knew what they had to offer, and it kind of felt familiar and comfortable to me. So, I checked out other online programs and this was the best suit for me.
Awesome. I love to hear that. And you kind of just segued into what our next slide is, and which is, how did the program prepare you for your career? You touched on that a little bit. Do you mind elaborating on that?
Yeah, I mean, experience can only get you so far. It does, once you're in, experience gets you plenty far, but it's, you know, people want to see what you've done up to this point, not only from a professional standpoint, but from an educational standpoint. And if you want to not have blocks in the road, one of the blocks that you're going to have most likely is going to be further education, at master's, and or a certain specificity in your field, and certifications that you're going to have to get in your field. It's just part of the process. So with me, not only personally did I want to pursue that, but you know, for me to be able to go up to the level that I wanted to go up to and be able to provide for my family, one of the blocks in the road I knew was going to come and was short to come was, well, what about your master's? You know, and maybe down the road it'll be, what about your PhD? You know, but right now I'm only at this step. I'm only going to accomplish here. But you know, so it's just part of, I don't want to say it's part of life, right? But it is, it's part of the professional status. If you want to bring in a certain income for your family and you want to be able to provide, part of that is to continue bettering yourself so you can, you know, basically earn what you feel like you deserve. And I always say, you know, you have to do the work to cover your pay. It's kind of one of those things. It's the same thing here. You know, you have to do the work to cover your pay, you know, financially, but and also professionally.
Thank you. And when you are ready for that PhD, we're here for you.
Well, I'm not going anywhere else because I'm tired of research and you guys have been good to me, so I'll stay here.
Awesome. Love to hear that. Dallas, how about you?
Hi. So, can you hear me okay? Because I'm kind of lagging on this.
I do. I hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So I 100% agree with what Renee had to say, that, you know, looking at it as more than a checkbox, the program, although you have to understand that there is, on a job application, there's a checkbox. Do you have that master's degree? Do you have that further education? Do you have these specific certifications? So that was a big reason why I knew I had to pursue this. What I didn't know is that it would actually, and kind of what I talked about earlier, what I could implement into my practice. To be transparent, going through it, I was like, oh, I'll just go through these easy online classes and check this box. And surprisingly, I have had a lot of meaningful discussions. I have definitely learned how to, appraise literature in a more higher professional way than I learned through my undergrad, which I was really happy about, because, I'm big on, and, people in this field and healthcare in general, is evidence-based practice, and trying to, provide optimal outcomes based on your experience, which I don't have much to go off of. So my next choice would be education. So education in the best literature available. So being able to kind of see that while I was doing these classes and learn. And, there were many classes that I could even choose what I wanted to research and choose what I wanted to dive into. And so I tailored that specifically to the athletes I was working with and the teams that I was providing care for. So in that sense, like, I feel like 5 years down the road, if I have something come up with my team, hey, I know this database that I used during school, and I can look something up and kind of pick apart this and talk to a professional that I may have collaborated with in the program. I've made friends with a couple different athletic trainers who are in my classes, and one of them we've actually chatted off screen and just talked about different cases we had that were similar. So in all, like, with networking, connecting, and just trying to be a better healthcare provider, I think this career has kind of given me the educational foundation, and so now I can easily more build upon that as I progress.
Excellent. Good to hear. Renee, going into the next slide. Excuse me, getting a little choked up. Dallas, you got me all choked up. So what certifications, Renee, I know that you're in the post part of it. What certifications did the program prepare you for? Did you do certifications for your capstone, or go into that a little bit, and then we'll pass it back off to Dallas about his plans for certifications, or what certifications he has already.
Yeah, so I have the CSCS, and definitely what I've learned is definitely helped me in other things in my field. I do want to get the sports science. That kind of got put on hold once I started getting heavily into my master's. And then I also got the job here, and that just took off. So it is on my checklist to do, but not yet. As far as, you know, as far, I mean, those are the only two that I really have. I have your general sports and conditioning. I have, I used to have my yoga. I used to have the sports nutrition, but I haven't like updated that or anything. Again, you find when you're not owning your own business, and now all of a sudden, I guess you're kind of cheating. Your company kind of brings in the yoga people and brings in the nutritionists, and so now I'm not like the one-stop shop where I need to have it all. So I've kind of let that go by the wayside. But I would say most importantly would probably be my CSCS for sure. And then I know it's already, I was about 80% through the sports science book, through the NSCA to take that as well. And as I read through that book, a lot of it was already in my head from these classes prior.
Did you do the CSCS certification while you were in the program or right after the program, or how did the
Yes.
program prepare you for
So
that?
I started my first year of Concordia years ago, when I moved out to Colorado, and that's before I was with the school yet. I was still doing my own company. And I was my first year of my Concordia when I also took the CSCS. Then I took a break from Concordia, which I think is kind of cool for these people to hear these students. Just because you're taking a break from it doesn't mean you're not going to go back, but you have to go back. I mean, if it wasn't for the peer pressure of my wife, I don't know if I would have, because that first year was tough, like learning how to balance everything. But then I did go back, and I picked up one class, I picked up two classes, and as my life started getting more and more in order, and had more of a routine with my job and more of a substantial income and things of that sort, I progressed, and now I'm about to graduate. So, I will say, as much as sometimes you want to stop, just don't. And if you do, you gotta have somebody hold you accountable to make you go back.
I do remember when you came back, I worked with you on reinstating back into the program.
Yeah,
I don't know if
yeah,
you
that
remember
was,
that or not.
but I mean, life happens. And sometimes, like I said, you get pushed to fifth, sixth, or seventh. That's just how it is. But it doesn't mean that you should be like closed off forever. It just means that maybe that chapter of getting your master's isn't like right now, but it needs to be now. It needs to be in your book. It may not be in chapter 5, but it needs to happen in chapter 6, 7, or 8. That's all. And don't forget that it is your life. And as much as you have other responsibilities elsewhere, taking care of you is going to get you to where you want to go at the end of the day.
I love that. I love that advice. Dallas, what
Yes.
certifications are you preparing for in the program? And do you have any prior?
So I actually am in my last class in the program yet, so I have not completed it yet. And so part of this last capstone class is gearing you towards some kind of special project that you kind of cumulatively put everything you've got from the program together. And so I chose to sit, or I'm choosing to sit for an exam. So it's the NSCA's strength and conditioning exam, the same one that Renee had obtained. And I really liked what you said, Renee, about the one-stop shop and having to be all that when it was just your own company. And I can relate to that because where I've been working, I have a strength coach who works with my team. So it's not something that I necessarily need, but throughout these courses and just in practice, like I've realized that it's not so much getting the letters behind my name, it's the work that you do to get that, right? So I'm not just going to go take a test, I get these letters and I'm immediately a better clinician. It's the research that we've done in class. It's implementing this into practice. It's taking these foundational courses and building up on that. My first strength class I took my freshman year of college, and I'm still taking classes that go through the same outline, and I'm amazed that I'm learning different things, even though it's the same course curriculum, similar. So I think that this exam definitely prepared me to just dive a little bit deeper. And I think naturally the next step is once you get that deep, you dive deep and kind of get that expert level in a certain field, is to get that certification because you've earned it. And apart from that, I urge people in this field to do that. And I'm sure Renee could attest too, but I did say something about the letters don't matter, but they do. You become a little bit more marketable and appealing to certain organizations. And Personally, and I'll say this till I'm done, but what you do day in and day out matters more. But on a job application, what you have to say on your resume speaks volumes, and that's what opens a door for you. So I'm glad that this program kind of in this last class is kind of structured to allow me time to like study for that exam and do everything I need to get it done. And I even got a discount code from the program for it. And I think it's definitely, back to what I said, implementing into practice. And I think still staying in my career, my trajectory of continuing education and just gaining experience my first couple years out. But definitely this program has shown me that it's important, and I've gotten a lot of tools just from the classes itself to study for it.
Thank you for sharing that. And you guys have already done such an amazing job of weaving advice in through everything that we've talked about. But if you don't mind just kind of expanding on what advice would you give to incoming students that are coming in or thinking about coming in and just not sure about making that next step. If you want to talk a little bit about that and what advice you would give them if they're if they're kind of teetering or as they come into the program, something that you could share that you experienced that would help someone. Dallas, go ahead, and if you want to continue, and then we'll come back to Renee.
Yeah, perfect. So I'll gear this question to students students that are like have signed up and are taking the or going through the program. So just advice on how to get started and figuring all that out. Okay, sorry, my screen was lagging again. So I guess my biggest piece of advice is just time management. It's so cliche, and you've probably heard it a million times before. I came and did this right after I graduated my undergrad, so I kind of had this, I guess, gear shift on that I was, working my 40 hours a week as a clinic and clinical rotations and also doing school. And so doing this program while working my full-time job as a professional, it was kind of just continuing my last 4 years. But like Renee's scenario, it's not that unique, right? A lot of people take a break and have different opportunities or family obligations. And I think the decision to come back to school is the same as continuing school, right? It's still important and it doesn't change your experience. But you just have to realize in both scenarios that there's an adjustment phase, right? So I didn't quite understand the pace of our courses in the beginning. This is an accelerated program, so the courses are 8 weeks each. So that's something that I had to adjust to. I was, used to the typical 15, 16 week long courses in a semester. And so, professors are super helpful. Two of my professors that were very meaningful were also athletic trainers. And so one of them I would meet with, every couple of weeks and just chat about things related to the course, but related to my job. And I had an instance at one point where I had an emergency happen with one of my athletes that kind of pulled me away from the whole weekend. And, ideally you'd communicate things beforehand, but sometimes things just happen. And so I had a professor that was super understanding of that. And we were able to, find a way to get what I needed done in a timely manner. So biggest things is get to know your professors. You may only have some of them for 8 weeks, and you might not know that they're connected with somebody in this field in this part of the country and can help you, whether it be day-to-day things or help you land a job somewhere. So send an email, an introductory email. They have new students every 8 weeks. So, you want to stand out as a student, right? That'll help you. But also get to know these people. They're experts in their field, or they want to be teaching here. So I definitely would get connected with your professors and just manage your time. Most of my classes had set due dates on each day of the week. And so that already helped me block my time out. Super structured. I think when you're doing an asynchronous program while working or having 10 billion different other obligations, structure is really important. So, this whole link to the program, I've had 2 days a week where I spend 2 hours doing school, and then the other 3 days I'll spend an hour and a half, and it kind of changes, but I make sure that I'm consistent with what I'm doing for my school.
I love that. That's some great advice, Dallas. And that's one of the things I tell my students as well, is make sure you're doing that networking. I mean, you're in this huge, I mean, people from all over the world come through this program from all kinds of walks of life. And so it's a unique opportunity to be able to network with the instructors and the students as well, to kind of make that connection in many different fields and opportunities. So I really love that you said that. Renee, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, no, I would say, my dad told me this and I still remember it. He said, Sissy, if it was easy, everybody would do it. And he said, it's really effing, sorry everybody, it's really effing hard to be great. That's why very few people are. And I was like, and I did not know what he meant then, but now, it's hard, like it's hard. It's hard to do your master's. It's hard to be a mom or a sister that's full-time. It's hard to be working a full-time job and fulfill roles and to be getting your master's in education. That's why there aren't a lot of people that, maybe have done it, but your passion is just, I guess you have got to mean more than everything else sometimes. And you have to, it's almost like a sense of, yeah, I did that. Like, yeah, I worked a full-time job and yeah, I was able to get my master's and yeah, I was also, a sister and a brother and whatever. And it's rewarding, and it's making you better in what you do. And so I would say you just stick with it. Like just stick with it. I remember the first year. Oh my God. I remember like crying, asking my wife, my mom, I call her my mom because you might as well the way that she treats me. But I remember like telling my wife, like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm so tired. I can't. And like I want to just like, and she's like, she just would rip me and like give me a motivational talk, but like I needed that, I needed that tough love. And just so it's, and again, and I will own up to it. Structure and time management at that time in my life when I first started probably wasn't the best thing that I was like on the top of my list of things that I was actually really great at. So it became now, I mean, I wouldn't be a director unless I wasn't, you know what I mean? Like now structure is absolute. My time management is like precise. Um, I would say Concordia and getting my master's was probably the jump start of what made me great today in those areas. And it was, learning how to manage my time, learning how to do things when I don't think I have time, and learning how to put things that I want to do, like watch TV or like be with my son, although I really do want to be with my son, things like that. Sometimes I just can't, you just have stuff that you got to get done. And it teaches you accountability and it teaches you, like you said, time management. And, my professors have been amazing. And it's been really cool to meet people outside my profession and my soccer world in a way, and my SEC world, and to meet other people and to hear their journeys and to hear how they became great and be able to apply it to what I'm doing and use it as motivation. And that's probably the reason why I wanted to be a part of this today when I got asked to do it. It's like, yeah, it was people like that that helped me get to where I'm at today. Why wouldn't I want to be one of those people now for somebody else? So,
I love that. You gotta find your cheering section, don't you, when you're in this program?
oh, for sure. For sure.
Well, I try to be a great cheerleader as well for my students. So I will say, when you are in the program, if you need any cheering, give me a call. I'll cheer you on or cheer you up or what have you. Um, we've gone through a lot. We've talked about a lot, and I appreciate every ounce of advice that you guys have shared with us. Are there any questions from the panelists that we need to visit at this point? If you do have any questions, please put them in the chat. Please put them in the Q&A, and we'll be here to answer them for you.
I see a question. Am I allowed to go ahead and answer them?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, from Monte Cooper asked if the CSCS exam would count as the final capstone for the program. I think I kind of breezed through that when I was talking about the final. So the final course in the program is the capstone experience. So that's basically, there's different options. There were options like sit for a certification exam, create a course, like a college course, and go through curriculum to kind of show that you've mastered all these things and you can teach it to someone else. You could have had like went to an expo and had a booth or some kind of presentation, a professional presentation. So I did choose to sit for the NSCA CSCS exam. And that does like meet that deliverable requirement. So the class is based on what you can deliver as that final project. And so I was able to sit for that exam because my concentration is human movement science, not the strength and conditioning. And if I'm correct, Renee's concentration was more of that performance, strength and conditioning. So she wouldn't be she couldn't sit for that CSCS exam just because it would count as a review. And there, with the credentialing board, it just kind of interferes. So I would make sure to kind of have that in the back of your mind if there's an exam that you want to take as part of this, and kind of going into it, choose a track that would better align with that. But in short, sitting for that exam in my scenario fulfills that project deliverable. Obviously, there's other requirements in that course.
Yeah, and I'll take an opportunity in a few minutes where we're going to talk a little bit more of that as well. It's a really great question. And one of the things that we want to touch on a little bit more, thank you, Dallas, for sharing your experience, because I loved that you were human movement science. So you didn't do the certification, but you did the CSCS certification because you studied outside of your scope of your concentration, because you were already preparing for the certification within the human movement science. And is that the NSCA CES certification, I believe, right?
Corrective exercise science. Mm-hmm.
Yes, yeah. Renee, do you have anything that you want to add to that question? Maybe your experience?
Yeah, so no, for my capstone, I'm doing more or less an abstract, like a paper that I'm writing on a PO question. Does plyometrics enhance sprint speed, jump, and change of direction in elite female soccer players? So, I mean, I could dive all into that and what I've found so far, but I don't want to bore everybody. But like I said, it's funny how I think one of my biggest fears is not having an answer for my athletes. So, I tend to dive into research when I don't have to. I tend to read abstracts and, and I think that there is a lack of studies being done in women's soccer compared to men's soccer in general. And a lot of times you see plyometrics done, and Dallas, you know this, when you think of plyometrics in women's soccer, you think ACL prevention. And right away, you don't think of plyometrics enhancing performance parameters like speed, like jump, like change of direction, which is funny. Right away, it goes to ACL prevention. But so I'm kind of shifting that way to see what's going on with that.
I like that question.
Yeah, I do too. I love that. Very specific as well.
Mhm.
Then we have another question here. I don't have a degree in athletic training or exercise science. My background is education. More specifically, I am an academic advisor at MSU. I'm interested in the exercise physiology track and want to know if this will prepare me for a clinical position upon graduation. The program is applied, so there's not clinical labs within the program for the most part. Exercise physiology, however, you are studying for the ACSM certifications within the exercise physiology. You don't have to have a previous experience or educational background for the master's program. You can come in, you'll start with kind of baseline with biomechanics if you're going into the exercise physiology, kinesiology if you're going into some of the other concentrations. So they will pick up on that and start you with the foundation of that if you don't have a previous experience in any exercise science or kinesiology or athletic training or any of that. Hopefully that answers your question. And then I also see, since these courses are 100% online, in what way would I learn the lab equipment in cardio or research? I'll open the floor to Renee or Dallas if there was any experience that you had for that, and if not, I can jump in and answer that as well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you'll definitely research. I think you can check off. I mean, you're definitely going to have the research, and you'll more or less shape a lot of programming, develop a lot of programming, have to justify your programming, and things of that sort. As far as what I learned lab equipment, I mean, you'll touch on certain things, but it won't be necessarily hands-on. Obviously, you're online. I think that's more or less going to fall on you. But I think there's certain expectations that you have from an online program, and being hands-on is probably not really one of them. So I think it's one of those things where you can take what you can take from the online, but then I think it's accountability of yourself going on, and maybe having to make connections there with a local place that will allow you to apply what you're learning online. It's just kind of similar, I guess, with like if they're having you develop a program and you have to break down technique, you have to find a place to get the equipment to break down the technique. You can film it, you can send it in, and you will have to, but at the end of the day, you kind of have to do your own connections, and you have to kind of go beyond the computer and put your work in to find places to do it and make the connections to do it, and then supply the information via online so you can get your grades. So I'd say it's a 50-50. You're gonna have to kind of do online and then also apply yourself.
Excellent. Dallas, do you have anything else to add to that as well?
No, I agree. That was a really good answer.
It was, yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, I don't see any other questions right now. Hopefully I'm not missing any.
One
But
more,
oh,
one
I'm
more
sorry.
popped up. No,
Did I?
sorry. One
Okay.
more popped up when Renee was speaking. It was the first attendee who asked about who is the academic advisor. Follow up to their previous question. Would this program prepare me to apply for X positions in hospitals? And I can go ahead and answer. I think I know what you're trying to ask in that first question. And I think you need the education part. I think Renee and I spoke a lot about that in the beginning, like having that further education. Yes, it's a checkbox, but it goes beyond that. So that's definitely something that you would probably need to be applicable for those type of jobs. But beyond what you need, it's more so experience. So, right off the bat, about knowing your story, my first piece of advice would be go shadow, go find a local clinic, go find a local school that has an exercise physiology program and ask if you can shadow in their lab if that's something that you're into, or try to network with somebody to make sure, see if that's what you want to do. And if it is, and a part of me getting my position was the people I knew. So that's a big part of it too. So I think you definitely would need to have some kind of exercise physiology education to be eligible to apply for this kind of position. But I think beyond that too, that my personal piece of advice to you would be to try to get connected with professionals in the field, preferably local or that are doing something that you would want to do. And I'm happy whenever I have people reach out to me and ask about my job and want to know what I do. So I'm sure that others would be just the same and accepting for you.
That's one thing I've found about our students. So many of them are willing to help each other. There's been many times where students had a situation they've called me on needing some advice or needing some support of some sort. And I've just kind of combed through some of my students and connected the two students so that they can talk to each other, give each other that support. And I've never one time had called a student asking them to help another student and that student tell me, no, that's not something that we can do. Or I'm too busy for that, or, whatever. So I really appreciate the students and the student body that are the students in this program who are able to do that.
You got one more in there.
Let me
It
see.
just popped up.
Are there any prereqs for the MS in strength and conditioning program? No. Well, you have to have an undergrad and a bachelor's degree, but it can be from any bachelor's degree necessary. You don't have if you have an undergrad, we'll get into some more requirements that are available, but you don't have to have anything other than a bachelor's degree in any field to go into the Master of Science in Exercise Science.
Just a passion. My major was criminal justice.
There you go. I was just getting ready to ask what you guys'
It's a passion.
backgrounds were coming into the program. Okay, I don't see anything else popping up. We'll give it just a couple seconds here to see if there's any last questions. Otherwise, we're going to go into the program details. Okay, let's move on. The Master in Applied Exercise Science, there are 5 different concentrations. So just to kind of break down everything that I just said, this program is a Master of Science in Applied Exercise Science with a concentration in blank. So those concentrations could be exercise physiology, where you're assisting clients in reaching peak physical performance. There's human movement science, where you study to become an expert in kinesiology, injury prevention, and more. There is the sports nutrition, where you learn how to guide athletes with evidence-based nutrition advice. Sports performance training, where you work to improve athletic performance in athletes of all skill levels. And then lastly, the strength and conditioning, where you're preparing to serve as a strength coach in professional settings. Why a master's in applied exercise science? We've covered a lot of that, but let's dig in a little bit here. You qualify for leadership positions within the exercise science field in business, government, healthcare, community organizations, or universities. You immerse yourself in research-backed knowledge to become an expert in exercise science. You stand out in the field and gain a competitive edge. You can study to advance your career and take the next steps. You can become equipped to change careers into the rapidly expanding exercise science field. And as Renee mentioned several times, you can pursue your passion through this. We talked a little bit about the certification preparation when we were going back and forth. Some of the concentrations, or each of the concentrations, have certifications that you're preparing for within the study. And some of them you're doing actual study guide from those certifications. For instance, sports nutrition is preparing you for certified sports nutritionist, the CISSN certification. The human movement science, that is preparing you for the National Academy of Sports Medicine's Corrective Exercise Specialist, CES exam. The sports performance training, that is preparing you for the National Academy of Sports Medicine's Performance Enhancement Specialist, PES exam. And then the strength and conditioning, that is preparing you for the National Strength and Conditioning Association, or NASA's Certified Strength and Conditioning CSCS certification. The program format, we mentioned that all of the asynchronicity, is that a word, that Renee talked about that worked for her. The program format is no campus visits are required. It's an anywhere, anytime education. If you have Wi-Fi and hopefully a good connection to your Wi-Fi, you can do your education. We have students who do it from all over the world. We have students in China, we have students in India, we have students in the UK. So they're in this program because they have that ability to do it online. We have small class sizes. Dallas mentioned the instructors being able to communicate and network with the students. And that is because of the small class sizes that we have. No more than 20 students per class in any of the classes that we have. The program requirements, you can expect there to be 10 courses, 11 courses for strength and conditioning. And as Dallas mentioned also, they are 8 weeks. Each course is 8 weeks in length. Financing your education, a lot of times that is a question that comes up in everyone's head, and they need and want to know the cost, and that's completely understandable. In order to do the program for any of the concentrations, the cost per credit hour is $575. There is a technology fee of $18 per credit hour, and then you can see that there are different tracks in exercise physiology. If you qualify for track 1, meaning that you don't have any background whatsoever in exercise science or kinesiology and need to start from the bottom, you would just multiply that 575 by 36 and include the 18 per credit hour. Track 2 is 30 credits, as well as human movement science, sports nutrition, sports performance training, and strength and conditioning. All of those are 30 credits for the program. Actually, strength and conditioning is 33. I want to correct that. Financial aid office is available. We have financial aid counselors who will work with you to process your FAFSA application. You can go on studentaid.gov and see what you would qualify for, and just use our Concordia CUC 6. There are application requirements. The application requirements is you have to submit an online application. The online application is really, compared to a lot of other schools, is a very simple process. The online application can take anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes to complete. And there is no cost to have a bachelor's degree, as I mentioned, but it can be in any field prior. Then you have to send us your official transcripts so we know what your GPA is coming in and if there are any courses that could potentially transfer in. Then you have to provide us with an objective statement telling us why you are wanting to do this program, why you're the right fit for the program. That objective statement, you don't have to overthink that and write a 5-page letter for that. It just really needs to be a couple of paragraphs just stating why this program is important to you. And then lastly, 2 letters of recommendation. Those have to be from professional sources. It doesn't have to be one of your past instructors, but it does have to be somebody, excuse me, on a professional level, not your best friend or your wife or your husband or what have you. Once you submit all of those, you just go through the acceptance process, and we'll work with you every step of the way to do that. We do have admissions specialists who are able to help you complete your application. They will talk you through all of those steps, be a good support system as you move through that application system. If you look on the screen right now, there is a QR code that you can just use your camera on your phone to access when it pulls in, and then start working on submitting those required documents. Classes, our next session of classes, they are starting August 26th. We have a start date coming up very quickly, but there's still plenty of time to be able to get you into that start date. But go ahead and get applied so we can start working you through the process. Any questions? Any other questions that we need to go to before we wrap all of this up? On the certification, we do have one question that kind of goes back again. On the certification preparation slide, it did not say anything about the exercise physiology concentration, prepping you for the ACSM clinical exercise physiologist exam. Does the exercise physiology concentration prepare you for the certification, or is this not correct? Yes, it is preparing you for to take the ACSM certification. Again, this is it is preparing you for that certification. However, it is all completely online. So as Dallas mentioned, if there's clinical components to do, that is something that you would have to do within your own area or within your own field. Okay, I really appreciate Renee and Dallas, you taking the time this evening to join us and give some great advice, give some great tidbits of what it was like, or what it is like for you as you go through this program. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we say goodbye?
No, just thank you. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure getting to see you in
You're
person,
very welcome.
kind of online. And Dallas, it was awesome meeting you. You were great. So no, that was it. And thank you, students, for giving us your time.
Likewise, I just like I said, I think if you honestly, it's super cliche, but if you believe and work for it, like it's doable. So if you know something you want, I say get after it.
For sure.
No time like the present.
Right.
All right, thank you all. We'll see you later. Everybody enjoy your
Thank you.